Hey looters! Today, in this video, I want to talk about the best practices and my favorite concepts that I've come up with for multi-classing as a barbarian in today's Flutes Loot video. So first of all, to multi-class as a barbarian, you're minimum going to need a strength of 13. If Barbarian is not your first class, you are going to gain proficiency with shields, simple weapons, and martial weapons. Not bad. You won't gain any armor proficiencies from multi-classing into a Barbarian, but you will gain unarmored defense. No armor proficiencies for you, but you are a Barbarian, so maybe you're naked. And then you'll just need stats large enough in whatever other class or classes you're multi-classing with, as per the multi-classing table of required stats in the player's handbook. So there's two kinds of multi-classing as a barbarian. One is Barbarian is your primary class. The other is you're just dipping into Barbarian for a few quick benefits. Usually if you're dipping into Barbarian, you really just want Rage. Other features you might be wanting from the Barbarian are also at level 1 with Rage, Unarmored Defense, and then at level 2 you can get Reckless Attack and Danger Sense. Rage is obviously the big one here because you can just start resisting usual weapon damage. You'll also gain a damage bonus to your strength-based melee attacks, and things like grappling will become more simple for you because you'll have advantage while you're raging on athletics checks and other strength skills. So things like climbing will also become more simple for you because it's an athletics check that you'll have advantage on while raging. Though I don't know if you're going to rage while climbing. We'll see. So the first combination I want to go over is the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian and the Domain of Peace Cleric. These subclasses are great for supporting your fellow allies and helping them succeed, take less damage, all of the above. So these two combinations are going to allow you to be preventing like 4d6 as a reaction. And then the Peace Cleric can create a bond between you and your allies where you will be adding a d4 once per turn. Well, not you, anyone that you have the bond with. They can use that d4 on attack rolls, saving throws, and skill checks. Again, just once per turn, so it's not as good as a Bless spell, but you don't have to concentrate, which means Barbarians don't gotta worry about it. While raging, I mean. No concentration while raging. A new Barbarian subclass that I am enamored with is the Path of the Beast. I think this subclass is a beast. I think it's so cool. I think it's got a lot of options, and it's got some cool synergies that I realized, like the fact that the claws you gain, you can get an attack twice with them whenever you use them, in addition to any extra attacks you have, which is pretty cool. And they count as simple weapons. That means they qualify for a monk weapon if you multi-class as a monk. This is a weird one. I've always wanted to find a way to make a concept work between monk and barbarian, but they actually don't have a lot of synergy effectively. But this beast barbarian, I think it's great that you'll be using your claws as monk weapons and you'll get another attack. So basically, even before you reach level 5, I think you could be doing upwards of 4 attacks with your claws and unarmed strikes. You'll also be able to rage, though you will have to use a bonus action to begin raging, which means you'll lose your flurry of blows, at least in the first round of combat. Maybe more, but probably just the first round. This type of monk wants to invest in strength for that barbarian extra rage damage, as you're pummeling people with your fists, but you'll also be able to increase your jump distance once you're at level 6 with the beast barbarian. So you can become this monk that's jumping all over the place, eventually running up walls and all that stuff. And the beast barbarian at level 6 just gives you a lot of synergy to accomplish that, where you can learn to swim, you can learn to climb. There's just so much you can do that makes a monk cooler at being a monk. I'm going to try this one out sometime. I'm not currently playing in any campaigns, I'm just DMing, but maybe later. Continuing with the Path of the Beast, I think it would be really cool to go like 10 levels of Beast Barbarian and 10 levels of Moon Druid. You're just really feeding into the beast aspect because you will be transforming into beast with your wild shape, and then you can alter those beasts to become like mutations and evolutions using your Barbarian Path features. So you can become a penguin with claws, or a dog with a scorpion tail, like all that kind of stuff. You can be some weird things. You're gonna be Chimera Boy or girl. Gave myself some Full Metal Alchemist feels on that one. Anyway, at your 10th level of Moon Druid, you can also become an elemental that has beast-like features. Like, just picture that, a water elemental that is actually shaped like a snake and can lash out like one, or a bear-like fire elemental. That just sounds cool to me, and cool enough to be worth a try. At this point, I will remind you before I move on that there is a whole article I've written with all these ideas and then some, and I'd love for you to take a look and bookmark FluteSloot.com. That's where we do our articles on D&D. We have over 100 of them now, so check those out and follow along with this video as I continue. I'm not a huge fan of the Storm Herald Barbarian, but I thought of two cool synergies that someone might want to try. I'm not sure I would. Maybe I would, maybe for a one-off. One is to do a multi-class with the Genie Patron Warlock, so that at level 6 as that Warlock, you can gain a flying speed without concentration. So you'll be a flying barbarian, and you'll have this storm aura, so you can just like rain over people as you like strike them with lightning, or incinerate them with fire and drought, or chill them to the bone as they are just out of reach of you. So without their ranged attacks, if they're just melee barbarians who can't fly, you can just float above them and wail on them with your storm. Another concept that I thought would be fun here is, again, Moon Druid for the Storm Herald. You can basically become like Jolteon, the Pokemon, and turn into some lightning dog with an aura that's shocking people. It's a really simple, gimmicky idea, but again, I might try it for a one-off just because it sounds fun. Here's one of my favorite concepts I came up with. I really enjoy the new Phantom Rogue, and I coupled that with the Totem Barbarian. Totems already kind of have some thematic synergy that kind of goes in the realm of like the Phantom Rogue, how they get these little trinkets, let's call them totems, of dead people. As a Totem Barbarian, you can resist while raging all types of damage except psychic, and then a rogue using Uncanny Dodge can have that. So you effectively can cancel out 75% of one instance of damage and 50% of the rest if it's not psychic. You can use the strength of the barbarian to get reckless attack and gain advantage for sneak attack. You don't have to use your dexterity for this character. You can be a rapier wielding barbarian, which is another article I've written about and done a video about. Use your strength as you strike with a rapier or other finesse weapon so that you can get sneak attack, but you'll also get rage bonus damage. It's just a little bit, 2 or 3 damage, but it's something. The key there is you can also get expertise in athletics. So if you want to grapple someone, you can rage to get advantage, and you can use expertise to really ramp up your rolls. People are going to be unable to escape your grapples, I'm willing to bet. And again, you can trigger your own sneak attack by gaining advantage with reckless attack. Kind of funny to be both sneaky and reckless at the same time, but Han Solo does it, I think. This one's a popular one that I didn't come up with, but I don't know who to credit it to. I think a lot of people came up with this early on in D&D, is Moon Druid plus Totem Barbarian. You can just transform into whatever animal you want. Well, not whatever animal, but you're transforming into some decent beasts like bears and giant hyenas as a Moon Druid. And then you can rage to increase your damage and to resist damage. It's going to make you very hard to kill because you're going to have all these extra hit points from being a beast. And then once they slay the beast, they still have the barbarian to deal with. Pretty cool. I haven't totally wrapped my head around the Rune Knight fighter that's based on like giant kin from Tasha's, but it would go well with the Totem Barbarian thematically. So if you have any ideas for how that could make for some good synergy, please write about it in the comments below. I want to hear about it. The Rune Knight is something I want to like, but it's just not doing it for me like the Psy Warrior is. So the Rune Knight goes well with the Totem Barbarian because they both use like runes, totems that could be like runic, and so you could kind of go with them that way, so you could be a cool fighter barbarian mashup who gets bigger when raging and everything, which is thematically satisfying. Last two ideas I want to talk about in this video are for the Zealot Barbarian. I love that the Zealot Barbarian has this like undying, unyielding attack style, and they can be brought back very easily with resurrection magic because they don't need components. I think it would be cool to combine the Zealot Barbarian with a Gloomstalker and be some kind of avenger sent by the gods to cleanse out denizens of dark places where the sun does not touch. You can be invisible to dark vision, so if they rely on it, you're just this crazy barbarian hacking and slashing them to pieces, and they can't even see you. That's terrifying. You'll gain bonus to damage because of all the barbarian bonuses you get, including the extra radiant damage from the Zealot. And Gloomstalkers also get a little bonus attack and damage boost as they are ambushing people. So, more attacks, more damage, why not? And last one, hear me out. This one's weird. I tried to think, how could a Zealot Barbarian resurrect itself? And I came up with a concept that you'll still want to clear with your DM if you want to try it, because there's a little... Anyway, you'll see. So, Zealot Barbarian, 3 levels, so that you can be resurrected without material components. Multi-class into the often forgotten Arcana Cleric from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. As a cleric, you will have access to Revivify. Perfect. Well, maybe not perfect, because Raise Dead would also work for this, but you know what I mean. Either of those. Revivify will actually be better because you don't have to do rolls to like take penalties later, and this is going to happen immediately after you die. So Revivify is actually better than Raise Dead in this instance. And then you are very patient as you reach level 20, when you as an Arcana Cleric get your level 17 feature that allows you to learn 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells from the wizard spell list. So you get a bunch of spells that clerics normally wouldn't get. You are going to pick Contingency. Use Contingency to cast Revivify on yourself and store it in your little Contingency material component, little statuette of yourself, little action figure of you. The Contingency is going to be that Revivify triggers when you die, and then you are revived with 1 hit point and you're back to it. You could even delay it a little bit, like a few rounds, if you want to make sure that combat has ended and you don't just like come back with 1 hit point while still in a dragon's belly or something like that. People have a chance to get you out of whatever situation, clear the floor, and you come back. The caveat that you have to check with your DM is Revivify's target needs to be dead. So when you cast Revivify as your contingency spell, you're technically not dead yet, so you're not a valid target. So I don't think by raw you could do this, but I was so close that I wanted to talk about it anyway, and it might be fun for your DM if they think it's cool to allow you to try this combination if you're doing some level 20 one-shot or something. You can resurrect yourself, maybe. So, these have been some of my favorite barbarian multi-classing concepts. Which ones did you like? Let me know by casting a message in the comments below, or visiting flutesloot.com to check out the multi-classing barbarian article and leave me a comment there. But that'll do it for this video. Thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you in the next video. Flutes out for now. See ya.